We're delighted to say that this series of Qtr Time podcasts is supported by Carbon Jacked, an environmental startup that helps you combat climate change.
They're an awesome company that provide monthly memberships which plant trees, support epic climate projects, and help you to reduce your carbon footprint.
Memberships start from just £2.50 per month, so you can help save the planet for less than a cup of coffee.
Signing up is super easy. Go to carbonjack.com and enter netballpod for a huge 30% off. The link is in our show notes. Go check it out.
Hello and welcome to Qtr Time podcast in partnership with Carbon Jacked. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P. And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is great to be back for our first episode of 2022, and we have got an absolute corker for you to kick off this very special Commonwealth Games year. This episode is the first part of a two-part mini-series covering the 2022 Quad Series between England, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. So, Lucy G, let us know what we've got coming up on the show today.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm practically vibrating off my chair. I'm so stoked. This is a big one. So first up, we're going to take a look at all four nations and how they're shaping up ahead of the series kicking off this weekend, including our players to watch and our predictions for the series. Next, we're going to hear from Spar Proteas head coach Dorette Badenhorst, who gives us some fascinating insight into life in the South Africa camp and how they're hoping to adjust with some key international players missing, and also a preview of their preparations for the upcoming Quad Series. And then, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you a super special interview with World Cup winning coach and the Dame herself, Dame Noeline Taurua. Pause just to let that sink in. We will be chatting to Knowles about objectives for the Silver Ferns going into this series and their journey since the Com Games in 2018. Whew.
Oh, amazing. I cannot wait for this one. Let's dive straight in with a look at how the four nations have built up to this series. So, all the teams have had a pretty disrupted few years since the World Cup in 2019, and so we haven't necessarily had as many chances to see all the players in action as we might have hoped. However, one team has been going to town. I lost count of the amount of matches South Africa have played since the World Cup. They defeated Uganda, Malawi, all the nations in the Africa Cup. They had the Spar Challenge and also some training matches against the home nations where they dominated as well. However, what's key to note is they've only played 7 tests against teams inside the top 4 since the World Cup, with only 1 win against England in 2019. Next up, looking at New Zealand, who've had a total of 18 tests since winning gold in Liverpool, with 13 wins and 5 losses, and also 2 series at home against New Zealand A, the men's side, and the under-21s. Next up, it's England with 16 tests, 8 wins and 8 losses, plus the All-Stars series. But it's also worth noting that their recent record is 4 wins from the last 6 tests, so they're on a good trajectory there. Finally, Australia have only played 8 official tests since losing out on the gold medal to New Zealand back in 2019, and they've had 3 wins and 5 losses. Aside from the additional bushfire relief game, they have only played New Zealand since that World Cup. So, Luce, do you reckon this will have an impact when it comes to these Quad Series matches?
100%. I think it's inevitable that the more preparation you can do, the better you're likely to perform. And I think the fact that Australia as a national side have only played one nation and one style of playing since the World Cup, I mean, I wouldn't want to be an Australia fan sat at home. That would make me a little bit nervous, if I'm honest. So yeah, I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think we're going to see some really fascinating combinations across all the teams. You know, we're going to have the iconic combo of Ebenezer Brown, Jiva Mentor for England. We're going to see a relatively young shooting end from New Zealand. You know, there's so many things to look forward to, but there are a number of key players missing for each team as well.
Yeah, we've obviously got Harton out for England, and for Doju, who everyone was hoping might get selected and appear in this one, but she's sadly injured as well. South Africa missing Pretorius, Potgieter and Van der Merwe. New Zealand, Ekenasio, Watson, Rory, and numerous others as well who are either injured or on maternity leave. And finally for Australia, Caitlin Bassett and Kira Austin are both injured, although bit of a question mark around Caitlin and whether she would have been selected given the fact that she's not playing top flight netball at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's an episode in itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Bonus episode coming soon.
Yeah. I mean, thinking specifically about the players who have been selected for each team, who are you most looking forward to seeing in this series?
Well, for me, in terms of New Zealand, it's hard to look past Karen Berger. She was rightfully named second place in Netball Scoop's list of the world's best netballer 2021. I mean, she is just a total machine, and she pretty much puts the fear of God in me every time I watch her play. She is everywhere, a total menace in Wing D, but I also think we'll see a lot of her at GD internationally with Watson out at the moment as well. But wherever she goes, she's lethal and she causes huge headaches for attackers everywhere. Secondly, and possibly a potential rogue choice, but I'm really hoping that we get to see a bit more of George Fisher for England in this series. We know that Joe Harton is absent due to a positive COVID test, and Fisher had a cracker in the ANZ last season and against New Zealand as well. We saw very little of her against Jamaica, and I think that was a real shame. She has all the clever moves and the tricks up her sleeve, so really hoping she'll see more court time and play more confidently in this series.
Yeah, 100%. I love George so much. She just seems like she's that kind of person that you want around just in your life. You want to be her best friend. Like, she's just so great. Love you, George.
A definite good egg, for sure.
100%. Definition of good egg. Look it up in the dictionary. You'll see her face there.
What about you, Luce?
So for me, if we look at South Africa, I am so stoked to see Bongi Msomi back on our courts again. She was a real fan favourite when she was over here playing for Wasps in the Super League. And Lord knows that Wasps have missed her presence on court ever since she left. And I think it's not just the dynamic style of play that she has. Like, she is an absolute pocket rocket, but she brings so much leadership and so much experience to that side. Obviously, having played for Wasps for however many years, she's also played in SSN. She's got a lot of life experience to bring to her and share with her teammates. So I'm super excited to see her again. For Australia, I'm really sorry. I've been super greedy. I actually couldn't narrow down who I'm most excited to see. So first up, I'm pumped to see Sunday Ariang on court. She is absolutely incredible. Like, she blew all of our socks off in SSN last year. So really keen to see a combination of her and Courtney Bruce out on court again. I'm also really excited to see Ash Braz. I am absolutely obsessed with her. She's so tenacious. She's a ball getter. She's really athletic. I love the experience that she brings to the side. And I actually think that a diamond side without her would actually be so much weaker. Yeah, they have incredible wing defences coming through, like Amy Parmenter. I think, she's really unlucky not to have made the squad on a number of occasions. But there's something that Braz brings that other people just don't have. There's something really special about her. And lastly, Sophie Dwyer. Really, really keen to see how she does internationally after a cracking 2021 season. The pressure of the finals may have got to her a little bit, but I'm really excited to see what she can put out there.
Oh, yeah, great choices, Luce. And particularly agree on Bongi Msomi. She's actually only 1 inch taller than me, so she's an absolute stan from my perspective. Oh my God. Love that. Reppin'.
Oh, goals, yeah.
So before we move on to our chat with Dorette Badenhorst, I'm going to go ahead with my prediction for the quad series.
Hit me.
I think England will win. Absolutely, through and through, bleed red.
Yeah,
followed by Australia in second. And then New Zealand in third, although actually those two could be switched around. I haven't quite decided on that. And then I'm definitely saying that I feel that South Africa will take last place purely based on the exposure and their ranking, etc. However, we know that they love to cause an upset. And it's so close between those other nations. So we could have a situation like we did last time in 2019, where England actually beat Australia and New Zealand, but then they lost to South Africa. So they lost the series overall, which was hugely frustrating. But anyway, that's what I think. What do you think, Luce? What's your prediction?
Oh my God, I have been trying to answer this in my head for probably about 2 weeks now. I'm such a flip-flopper. I'm just sat on the fence. I really, really don't know. I do think if you were a gambling person, on paper, England is who you would put your money on. We've got our full strength squad bar one. We're on a high from the test series against New Zealand and Jamaica. You know, we're breaking new ground. But I don't think you can underestimate the likes of Australia and New Zealand. And although Australia are a bit of an unknown at the moment, they do have such strength and they are total powerhouses. So you cannot write them off. So I would probably say Australia second and then New Zealand third. If New Zealand had the likes of Ekenasio and Watson back, I would put them either first or second. But without them, I don't think they'll be able to go the extra distance.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, with you. I mean, how unoriginal of us as a UK-based podcast to say, oh, we think England will win. Hilarious. But no, I'm with you. It's going to be a real close one. I can't wait to see how these teams line up. It's so exciting. Can't wait.
For sure. Coming up next, we hear from South African head coach Dorette Badenhorst.
It is an absolute pleasure to be joined by the Spar Proteas head coach, Dorette Badenhorst. Welcome, Dorette.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you on the show. As you know, it's been a while since we've had a multi-team test series to prepare for. The last one was the Netball Nations Cup in January 2020. And in that series, South Africa finished in 4th place, but were only narrowly defeated by England in the 3rd-4th playoffs. So talk us through the mood in the South Africa camp at the moment with the Quad series coming up imminently, and let us know what the team are hoping for in terms of results from this series.
Yeah, the mood in the camp is really brilliant. The players are all very excited to get on court. We've played a lot of netball in Africa, but we didn't have, like you said, opportunity to play against the best in the world. And what a great opportunity to have the top 3 in the world to play against. For us, just a privilege and an opportunity to go on court. We really want to do well and just measure ourselves on where we are at this stage, and especially knowing that this will be the last time most of the teams will be together before Commonwealth, and also to know where we are at this stage going to Commonwealth in playing it this year and also next year's World Cup, closer than we think. But yes, it's things like that we all as coaches will have in our head to maybe just make sure of combinations, which players will work for us and who won't work on this level.
So it's been a few years, obviously, since the World Cup, but the time seems to have raced by. I don't know where it's gone, probably in all this pandemic chaos. And you mentioned there the matches that you've played in Africa. And I noticed in a video after the Africa Netball Cup that you mentioned there are different preparations that you'll do for a quad series compared to the Africa Cup. So are you able to give us a bit more detail and insight into your preparation for the quad series specifically?
Yeah, I think it's a totally different game that we're playing in Africa. Playing against Uganda, Malawi in Africa, it's a very tough and physical out there. You will analyze a player, but not really a team, because they don't really have game plans. They will just keep possession. So it's very different when you analyze a team like Uganda and Malawi, and they're really great players. They athletic. They've got tall players, and you should never underestimate a team like that. But they go in with the body, they're very physical, especially when Africa plays against Africa. As soon as you go to the top teams in the world, there's more structure, and you can see that there's game plans and a lot of analysis going into games like this. I think it's a totally different game that we're going to play. You need to expect it's much quicker. It's when you play a team like England, Australia, New Zealand, they've got strong leads, a lot of speed, strong passes, a lot of height in those circles. Definitely a total different game plan that you will have for these. It's great playing them, because if you keep on playing only Africa, you will never understand what you need to prepare for going into Commonwealth. So it's very important that the players, I've got a lot of new players that never played at this level. So for them also to see what can we expect against teams like this, and why are they the top teams in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of those new players, we know that you've got two key players from the South Africa squad taking some time away from international duties in Lenise Potgieter and Carla Pretorius, who are arguably your starting goal shooter and goal defence. And we also know Shadeen van der Merwe, I believe, is currently out injured as well. So who from the team are you looking to provide that leadership with these three players absent for this test series?
Yeah, I was actually without those three players for the whole of 2021. So we got opportunity to really give Ina Marie Venter some game time. And she's really coming to the party. She's playing brilliant netball. She played in England, got opportunity to play there, also goal attack for the season at Mavericks. And I think always knowing that you're second lineup, and now suddenly you need to take that responsibility. I think she did brilliantly in all our test games in Africa, and she's playing good netball at this stage. So I'm looking forward to see her taking that first lineup against the top teams in the world. And yeah, we still not with, losing Carla Pretorius and actually Shadeen. That's my second goal defense. I know she's playing my first lineup wing at defense next to Carla. It is a bit of a worry for me in that circle on the defensive side, losing two players. But we do have Monique Reineke that's really coming through strongly. I strongly believe in her. If we can select her, it will be great for that first test. And with Phumza Mweni at the back there, she is always assisting, always helping the youngsters in front of her, because it's really a new combination in that circle. So Phumza is helping us a lot. And luckily with my centre court, that's my usual centre court, they bring a lot of leadership in that group. And I can't ask for a better captain like Bongi Msomi. She's just keeping this team together. She's just a brilliant captain.
Yeah, no doubt. She's absolutely a fan favourite over in the UK. Everyone absolutely loves her. So very much looking forward to seeing her back on our court soon. Speaking a bit more about Lenise, we were all really saddened to see that heartbreaking post that she shared on Instagram detailing her struggles with mental health recently. As a national side, can you talk us through the support that Lenise and other players who may be sort of feeling similar feelings or in similar situations are being given?
Yeah, I think it's very important that we all know that mental health is a huge issue throughout the world, and it can happen in any team. And I think it's just really important that we support a player like that. And our big sponsor, SPAR, is also supporting Lenise by paying for all the sessions with all the psychologists and psychiatrists that she's seeing. So they came on board and really helped a lot, our sponsors on that side. And I think just her knowing that her team can't wait for her to be back in that family. She's always welcome in our family, and that we will always support her. I think that's very important, that she should know that her team is behind her, and we really need her, but we also respect the fact that she can't be with us at this stage. And, you can't force a player like that, because it can... Sometimes you don't know, will it be good or bad for her to be in a team situation like this. But with all the other COVID and all those things that's also happening, it will have a mental impact on players that's struggling. So I think to isolate and all those type of things that did happen at some stage with us, it will just put more pressure on her. So we will be patient, we will wait for her. And I know when she will be back, she will be 110% back, and we can't wait for that day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really great to hear that she's got such a strong support base in her South Africa side, and that you're all sort of rooting for her and able to support her in whatever way that she needs. That's really lovely to hear. So looking back at this squad that you've got for Quad Series, a total of 7 out of the 14 players selected have experience playing in either the Suncorp Super Netball or the Vitality Netball Super League. And of course, South Africa have their own Telkom League as well. What are the difficulties that you encounter when you have players from your team competing in 3 different continents around the world?
Yeah, I think I'm not the only team with that problem. I think with all the teams, we do have players that's playing all over the world. For me, it's great that my players can get the opportunity to play against the best players in the world, especially in England and Australia. So I will always support my players if they get an opportunity to play in another country. Yes, you do want your players in your own country, but at this stage, we're the only country that's not playing at this stage netball professionally. We're not full time. My players do all have jobs, all they students, and we don't have at this stage a program where we see our players every month or every third month. So we are glad we can have camps. We did have a good few months now from September when we went to Northern Ireland, although it wasn't test. We got the opportunity to be together as a team. And, from there we went immediately to Africa. From there we went into a training camp. So we did have a lot of opportunity that to be together. And I think going forward, Netball South Africa is really working hard towards 2023 that my team can be more together, get players into camps a little bit more often. But I think it's very important to also make sure your depth in your country is good enough that if you do have players that it's not available, that the next lineup players are strong enough to compete against the best in the world. I think Netball South Africa is working hard to get us at that stage where we can be semi-professional, but I think it's very different where you do have players that can just do netball. They maybe have a second job that is not netball, but giving them a little bit more income, where most of my players do have a main job and netball is their second income.
Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference. It's something that came up in conversation with Sam Bird last time we had her on, because a number of her players are London Pulse students. So having to balance the playing responsibilities with their education is really, really tough. But the one thing that strikes me, having your players play in different leagues under different coaches no doubt embeds different playing habits and behaviours that may differ to the playing style that you would want your players to do for their national side. So how do you ensure that there's a level of coherency on court when you have such minimal time together as a squad?
Yeah, I think in South Africa it's a little bit easier because I won't coach one of the National League teams, but I will be there. I can give feedback to my players. And I think it's also important for me as a coach to communicate with my players that's playing in England and Australia. I don't need to change someone's game plan because of a certain coach, but I can maybe just say a little thing that can change a bad habit or something that can help that specific player, and it's got nothing to do with game plan. So I think it's very important that you just need to stay connected. I'm full-time working for Netball South Africa, so I can travel, I can see all the players' games. I do sessions with them during the week, even if I have to travel to where they are staying and just work in their different provinces. So for me, it's important just to make sure that I connect with the coaches, because at the end of the day, if you and the coaches can work together to the same goal, it's just making things so much easier. And I think that is the most important thing in a situation where we are in, that if you and the coaches can't work together and you're working towards different goals, then you will really struggle. But I think most of the coaches are willing to work with me. Most of the coaches I do have a good relationship with, that I can give feedback and just ask to work on certain things from their side as well. And like I say, if there's a good support, then I think both of the coaches will benefit through this.
Yeah, you spoke a little bit about the Telkom League. How do you feel that this league prepares your younger players that are coming through? And how would you like to see the league improve and grow in the coming years?
Yeah, I think the more we can get players to play in the Telkom Netball League, the better. At this stage, they need to take off from work, and not all players are always available. So sometimes players just don't get off work, or they're writing exams and they can't play in that specific league. And Netball South Africa do give opportunities to coaches to change within 16 players. But, I think that is the biggest problem if you can't get all your players to be available for selection.
Yeah, there must be a lot of challenges that go into being a national coach and trying to manage all of that all the time. Obviously, the pandemic has had a huge impact on netball globally. And South Africa, as far as I'm aware, have not faced a top 4 nation since 2020, although you have been lucky enough to play numerous test series, including the Africa Cup, which we've mentioned. And you also convincingly beat Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland in that training test match series. It was really disappointing to read that the Jamaica series was cancelled. I thought that was something we were all really looking forward to as a good test for the South Africa side as it stands. But we just wanted to ask, do you feel that South Africa have been tested enough in these last couple of years in order to be prepared for the Quad Series and the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, like you said, we haven't been tested against the best from January 2020s, and we actually did well in that series. I think the games were all close games, and I was really happy with their performance. But yeah, you won't know until that first whistle goes on Saturday, because like I said, it's really different. And yes, the pandemic played a huge role not going to Jamaica. We all were really disappointed about that, because that was our first big challenge. And I think we're really working hard in where we are in South Africa. The players are putting a lot of work in, and they sacrifice a lot. And I think it's now just time to see where we are. And we couldn't see that before this Quad Series, and I'm just lucky and happy that we do have this opportunity to play, because you don't want to go into Commonwealth without this experience. Like I said, you have to play the best in the world to beat the best in the world. You need to have that experience given to your players, because otherwise you can analyze, you can watch all the games possible, but if you don't get on court against those top players and you don't get enough game time, you will never be good enough to play at that level. So for me, yes, it's a worry, not only for me. I think we played more netball than some of the other countries that is participating. And that, is also very positive, because it's not always the work on court. It's a lot of work going on off court as well. So we're working on a team culture. We're working on strategies. We're working on feedback, and a lot of things that we bring in new in the team. That we worked on off court, especially the time in Northern Ireland and Ireland. So yeah, I'm very happy on the way we progressed throughout the past year. But on court, we will only see where we are when we start playing the top in the world.
Yeah, and I think actually Australia are in a fairly similar position, because they've, I think, only played New Zealand in the Constellation Cup since the World Cup all those years ago. So we will see when the chips are down on Saturday, I suppose. So finally then, before we let you go, thank you so much for your time already. We just had a couple of questions about your role and when you took over the reins from the legendary Norma Plummer after the Netball World Cup in 2019. So can you tell us a bit about the legacy that Norma left?
Yeah, Norma is for me a great mentor, a great person and a great friend. I think I got the opportunity to luckily be part of the team when she was the coach. So I did a lot of Quad Series with her, as well as the last World Cup. So I've learned a lot from Plum. She's just an amazing person. And yes, I don't hesitate to just still go on to a phone call or a WhatsApp call and just find out how she is, what she thinks, or just that little support to my side as well. She's a great person. She left a lot of legacy with us, just intensity. Everything is that bit better, I want to say. But yes, I'm standing in my own shoes. And I don't want to do what Plum did, but I want to do something more and give more to the players. We want to build on what Plum left for us, because she really left a lot for us to work on. And I think we just need to build from there and not go backwards. And I think that's the most important thing for me as a coach, to get all the experience that I gained from her and make her proud and just work really hard with this team.
Yeah, well, you've had a fantastic impact on South Africa already, and I can't wait to see how the girls fare this weekend. Thank you so much, Dorette. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting with you, and go well this weekend.
Thank you very much.
After the break, we chat to the one, the only, the legend, Dame Noeline Taurua. Do you want to help combat climate change? Well, you can by joining Carbon Jacked. We're both members and we love it.
Memberships start from £2.50 and your money goes towards amazing projects, from planting trees in the Peak District to providing refugees with sustainable solar cookers. You can get a huge 30% off by entering Netball Pod when you sign up at carbonjack.com.
Carbonjack also do loads of great work with businesses, so get in touch if your company wants to become more sustainable. All the info you need is in the show notes, so make sure you take a look.
A massive, massive welcome to the one and only. It's Dame Noeline Taurua. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. It's incredible to speak with you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And thank you for having me. It seems so long since Lucy contacted me in Lincoln. So finally we're here and getting this show on the road. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure. How are the team doing? It's your first overseas trip in 2 years. So,
oh, look, it's quite exciting to actually get on the plane and go overseas. It was sort of a bit like one of those things where even getting to the international airport and knowing that we're going somewhere a wee bit different and new, definitely exciting. The actual trip, as you know, going from one end of the earth to the other is a bit of a mission. And we also had our babies and our mummies as well. So we had extra people on board and actually everyone did really well. So, yeah, we've been here a few days now and just settling ourselves in.
Amazing. Have you had much time for any training or anything, or has it been a lot in isolation?
No, we're probably quite lucky where everything's sort of run to plan for us. First day that we arrived, it was sort of a bit of a light day and just do a lot of recovery work. And then the following day went back into the gym and only did one training. And then the next 2 days after that, it's been full on. So especially at the beginning of a tour, it's about how much you can squeeze in, but also trying to keep it all balanced as well, that you can't overload. So it's probably a fine balancing act as to the loads that we do at the beginning of the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, we are so excited to see what you guys put out on court. So we'll dive straight into some questions. With the Commonwealth Games, obviously it's on everyone's mind. It's less than 200 days away now. What are the Silver Ferns' primary objectives for this quad series? Are you still hoping to try out new things or cement that 12? What's the ambition?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. I've got a lot of things on the list. And like always, I never have a straight answer, but that's because we're trying to work a lot of different things at the same time. So I think for us as the Silver Ferns, and I'm assuming that all the other countries are in the same boat, one, for us to get out there, experience international travel, since we've all sort of haven't done that for a wee while, understand, we fly through Singapore and then what that means, and also the time zone. So there's a lot of details that we're working through around logistics and what's best for us as we lead into the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. So we'll be back over here in July, August of next year. So it's sort of a test run in that respect. On top of that, we've got players who haven't had that experience of an international tour, what it means, how their bodies react, and making sure that they understand what's required and also understand that you're going to be tired. So how can you get out there and still train, and what do you need to do to make sure you've done the best prep possible? So that's been a learning experience for some of our athletes. I think the great thing is, which is massive, I think, for England netball, is to have 4 teams over here playing against each other, especially in these times. So I think we're all at the boat of checking out the opposition, seeing how far or close you are away from them, and then seeing what you need to do for the next phase of planning. And once we go home, we go into our ANZ domestic competition. So that's probably the time that we can make the most grounds over that 4 or 5 month period leading into the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that squad, there was a lot of chatter on social media when the squad announcement came out with, a few names missing, with some really interesting inclusion. So with the likes of, Watson, Rore, Akanasio out of the squad for this test series, who are you looking towards to provide that leadership on court?
Yeah, look, we've been, I think when we played up against England, when England came over to New Zealand, there were times Gina actually picked up the leadership role there in the captaincy. but also she got injured as well. I think might have been after the first or second test. I can't quite remember. Sulu, who was a vice captain as well, she got injured as well on the track. So then Sam Winders came in, and we had somebody else. It seemed like we had quite a few people. So one of the things I suppose in our team environment is that we do have great leaders, but we also like to encourage that everybody's a leader in their own right. A lot of the things that we do is setting up groups, and people at different times lead those groups and also contribute to the team environment. So we still feel that we've got strong leadership within the group. Probably maybe the difference is that leadership doesn't quite have the experience that we've had in the past, but that's just how it rolls. So I'm not too worried about the leadership. It's probably just our ability to be able to execute on court and everybody doing what they said they're going to do.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting you highlight potentially that inexperience there, because your attacking end in particular, I think there's only 27 test caps between all of the shooters combined. So it must be relatively daunting for them to have, I suppose Maya Wilson's the most experienced out of the lot of them. That's quite a lot on her shoulders then, I guess.
Yeah, it is, definitely. When we were in selections in December, there was a moment there I thought, oh, holy heck, as you alluded to, there's not very many caps there and they're very young. Both Grace and also Tiana got a bit of experience against England. And probably Tiana actually had a really good showing, but Grace probably, she knows that there's more that she can do out there on court, and got eaten up a wee bit by Jiva, but then came back strongly for us against the men. So Fielder in herself is actually a different story and really hasn't really cemented herself at ANZ. One of the exciting things about all of them is they all have a point of difference. So I know I do make a change that they're going to bring just their own uniqueness. Another exciting thing is they weren't afraid to go to the post, and all of them shot long. So, that's the only thing that I can hang my hat on so far. But they will be tested in there against the likes of a Jiva and a Bruce, who are world-class defenders. But I think to some degree that is what this tournament is about for us, to be able to see those ones who can stand up to that external pressure and those ones who fold. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned there some of the learnings from the Tiny Jameson Trophy, but were there any other considerations that came to the fore after that competition specifically?
Yeah, look, probably playing against England, there were two major points for us, and that was in our bookends. One, we didn't have enough shots and our shoot percentages was really low. And then on the other end, we didn't get enough gains, didn't turn enough ball over and didn't put enough pressure on. And I think when you reflect on the squad that we currently have, apart from the attacking end, we've gone heavier in our defensive lineup. I would like to think all of them are ball getters. Once again, they're sort of similar to our shooting end, where they're quite unique in how they play the game. I had specific areas that I wanted to get out of the squad, and hence some of the selections that we've got.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, that was a cracking series. I mean, particularly as English fans, it was great for us to, make netball history, but what a spectacle that was. Over the last couple of years in particular, New Zealand have been really vocal and proactive in embracing mothers who return to the game, both helping them before and after their children, which is just phenomenal to see. And obviously Kayla Johnson and Phoenix Carricker are the latest examples of this. So how do you go about reworking those players into the squad, particularly if you have really minimal prep time or game time with them before, a major competition?
Yeah, I think over the last 2 years we've done a lot in that space, not only in the Silver Ferns, but also at Netball New Zealand, and are working with our NZPA, which is our union. One of the things that we have noted, which we've always known, is our supply and demand of players. So we don't have a lot of players that's on the spectrum. We really rely on the ones that we do have, making sure that there is a lot of value in them. And for this moment of time, are they available or not? So I think about the last 2 years, we've done a lot in that respect in shifting and moving. An example is the mummies that are coming back into the environment. So what we usually do is we track them. So, I mean, with all the players who are back in, apart from Kayla, who hasn't been in the New Zealand system for a few years, but Amelia Ann, Katrina, Phoenix, obviously. So we help them pre-birth. And the idea is working with the mothers as to, one, is their intent to come back to netball? And then how can we help them to shift fast post-pregnancy, and working with the mothers as to what they require. So we do a lot of work pre-birth, and we're led, I suppose, by the mothers as to what they can do in the program post. So a lot of times it's never one-stop shop, because I think as a lot of women know, when you've been blessed to have a baby, sometimes things don't come out how you want. So, it moves pretty slowly, but we think a year is a good time frame where we can both work, where we're not stressing the mother out or the baby, and it's realistic that we can really get them back into the mix in around that time frame. So we have two mothers that's joined us in this tour, as you mentioned, with Kayla and Phoenix, and more likely through ANZ, Amelia Ann will come back, and also Katrina. So we're really excited by having people back into the mix. I think it's cool.
Yeah, brilliant. I think there's been a real kind of situation with that being brought to the fore in netball globally as well. And it's great to see New Zealand leading the way in that regard. Looking back over the last few years, the Silver Ferns have gone on quite a journey, obviously going from not medaling in the 2018 Commonwealth Games to then becoming World Cup champions the following year. So what characteristics do you think define this group of athletes that differentiates them from previous squads that you've had?
Yeah, look, I think probably the first thing when I came in, yes, we didn't have a successful Commonwealth Games, and I think for that was a massive learning for us that's come out of that experience. It's nothing for us to be ashamed of, but definitely there was learnings that we needed to take to the next major event. So I probably personally came in at a good time where we were looking for not only different ways, but how can we be better? So I think if I take that philosophy, it still remains the same. Yes, we are netball world champs, but that's sort of like 2-3 years ago now, and everybody is vying for that Commonwealth Games gold. And I think a good example of what happened last time with England coming through and pipping Australia. So all we rely on really, I suppose the approach in the Silver Ferns has always been about people. That's clear. And I think once again, the example of the mummies is probably how we work behind the scenes. A second thing is about the collective. Yes, we are working with individuals, but I think it's a collective thought or a collective sharing of how we can be better. We use, I suppose, series or major events as a stepping stone, and really looking forward to the next activity as to how we can be better than before. But we rely hugely as well on our relationships with our clubs. I know with Netball New Zealand and myself as in the Silver Ferns, we only have the players for a short amount of time. So our ability to build that relationship with our clubs at the ANZ level, I think, is a competitive advantage for us. It's not necessarily that we're the be-all at New Zealand, Netball New Zealand, but how can we share? And I think how can we all be better so that all parties have a win-win situation. So we're sort of working in that sort of realm, but I love competing, and these series like this is in quad series, these are the only times that we can get a good measure of ourselves as to how far close we are from the opposition.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you on all of the above. And I think we've just seen such a dramatic shift in that culture from the 2018 to 2019. And that was obviously heavily impacted by your introduction there. And I'm sure we could speak to you for hours on the topic of team culture and ethos and everything like that. But how would you personally characterize the team culture for the Silver Ferns? Bearing in mind, at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, there were a few comments made. I think Jenny May Clarkson said a lot of people at Black Home are saying that there doesn't seem to be any pride in the black dress. How have you addressed that in your tenure?
Yeah, I think It's always hard, I think, when things don't go well, and I believe that just because maybe you're not winning, I would like to think that there's always pride in the black dress. I think it's always a dream of everybody, whether you're a player or a coach, that you represent your country. Just sometimes when the pressure's on and you lose, sometimes things capitulate and you pull apart. And I think to some degree that's natural. But it's always I suppose it's not a struggle, but it's always a challenge. And it's always one of the things that you have to work at as to how you combine the team together. And that's just not about me. It's about the players. It's about our management. It's about our organisation. I would like to think it's quite interesting where we are at the moment. We have evolved. In the old days, or in the World Cup, we had the likes of a Maria, a Casey, a Laura, who we said they were fossils. And underneath we had the Jane and the Gina and, that next level underneath. Now the Janes and the Ginas and the Amelia Ann are now the fossils or the fossillettes. Now we've got the next level underneath that's coming through, and it's always probably a balancing act as to how we hold on to history, but also how we evolve with the new people that we have, so that everybody's got a place. So sometimes it's quite interesting because Grace said to me on one of the team meetings, I asked her, "What do you think?" And she said, "It seems like we're saying the same things all the time." And I said, actually, we are, so it's a lot of repetition of exactly the same thing, but how can we do things differently, and how can we ensure that everybody can contribute and they feel part of the culture? And I think that's probably the biggest challenge of all, is it's never a one-stop shop, and it's never a written ingredients, because the people change. And that's probably the exciting phase that we're in at the moment, especially with some of these young ones coming through. Oh my God, TikTok and Top Tick and all that sort of stuff has totally changed the old guitar playing. So it's really exciting and adds a lot of nice energy to where we currently are.
Yeah, absolutely. My heart is just singing, listening to you talking about this, because what it says to me is that you really embrace all of your players for who they are as people, as opposed to what they can put out on court. So that kind of ever changing and shifting culture and dynamics within the squad is really incredible. And I think I love what you said before about how not meddling at the Com Games isn't necessarily something to be ashamed of. And I think when you frame that in sort of the bigger picture of world netball, in a way, it's actually a really positive thing that it happens. Yes. It changed the dynamic completely forever.
I know, and that's the thing. I think, it's, everyone goes in cycles. And New Zealand and Australia have always been there to some degree. And I think it's fantastic. The stronger that we are as a sport at international level, then we're looking at things like the Olympics, or, what else could the sport possibly do? And that's really what it's all about. The stronger we are, more people or more countries that win shows the strength of netball at the international level. So, hey, let's, you just got to take the goods and bads and roll on and look at it from a bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to embrace it as part of your history and take the learnings from it. Yeah,
totally.
One of the other key things that we've seen change in the Ferns camp since the 2018 Com Games is the fitness standards. But that being said, even just last year, ahead of the Constellation Cup against Australia, there was an article by Brendan Egan where you said, I quote, "At the moment, we've got amazing athletes, but I do think we've got gaps in our system that we need to be able to work on. Otherwise, we'll get to the same spot with fitness. There are athletes who've been in the system for a long time and have really been stalwarts for their clubs, but they aren't budging in certain areas for whatever reason with fitness." So how hard is it as the national coach to turn away such talented players from your environment because of their fitness levels?
Look, I don't think, to be honest, this is just me, but it might be a wee bit different for what people think. I don't think that the fitness levels are that hard out. It's within cooey of what people can do. What it was in response to our debrief or the reviews coming out of our pinnacle events. And this is over a 10-year time frame. It's not sort of just yesterday. In reviewing all of them, all of the reviews said our fitness levels. So as you know, sort of in Pinnacle events, it's not just one game a week, it's a game after game after game. And the reviews happened with everybody, and people felt that by the time we got to the business end, we wilted. I think really, if we're not going to act on the reviews, we may as well not do the reviews, is my say. That's how I think, otherwise we're just kidding ourselves. So these reviews have been done for 10 years and we had it moved. So it was really just reacting to that as the first point of call. The second thing, as I said, I don't think it was hard out, but that's just me. And the third thing is, I think, hey, if you're a builder, then your 101 is having a hammer. Having a hammer and some nails. Or if you're a cook, you want to have some knives and a hat or something like that. There must be the basics that go along with the job that you do. So we're high performance athletes or elite athletes, and I would like to think when you're at elite international, you hold the mantle for people to aspire to be like you. And I would like to think you're looking at the top of the cream of the cake. Our skill sets, our fitness is our body, and that should be 101. But on the opposite side, I think when things get hard, you want to know that people have done the job, that people are there because you've done the hard work. The most exciting thing, I think, which is awesome, coming out of the December camp, we only had 2 people. So 3 years ago, we were nearly shipping everybody. We were in the 10, the double. Now we only had 2, and they're not too far away. So we've shifted hugely, and now maybe that might be just what we do. It's if we can raise the bar, not only with the Netball New Zealand or Silver Ferns, but definitely raise it in the ANZ, which is why we're trying to build that relationship, then it's only going to raise the quality of netball. So, everyone's has a role to play in that respect, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what it comes down to me is that if you're in, the gold medal Com Games match, it's crunch time. You don't want to lose because you had a lower level fitness. You want to lose because you were outplayed by the opposition and they just performed better on the day. To lose for something like fitness would be devastating. So I love that really sort of hard approach towards it. I think that's great. And speaking of the ANZ, there was a recent article reviewing the ANZ Premiership since the split from the Trans-Tasman competition. And Jenny Wiley, the Chief Executive of Netball New Zealand, said, and I quote, "Ours was always going to be a long game to now where we find ourselves, whereas the option in Australia was just to take the best players that you can afford from around the globe and immediately set up a competition without really having a view on what impact it will have on your pathways." So how do you feel that the ANZ has fared since the split? And do you feel that the Silver Ferns are better off for it?
I probably, maybe when I answer this, I could come across a bit like two-faced. Only because people may or may not know, I did a bit of a stint for 3 years over in Sunny Coast. So I coached over there. I absolutely loved my time over there. It was such a cool competition. I really enjoyed playing against or coaching with international stars and utterly enjoyed it. So that's one hat, and I probably, when I look at another hat and can see another way of it, is that probably the first couple of years or first 2 or 3 years in the ANZ took a wee while to be able to settle. I think as the years have gone on, our quality of game has definitely improved. And I feel that has been demonstrated to now the last 2 years, we don't know who's in the top 3. So that's a really good thing to have in a competition where it goes toe for toe. I think also another great thing that's come through as the competition has evolved is our next level underneath. So we have ANZ and we also have the NNL. So there's a close relationship between the two. So some of the players who are at ANZ, if they don't get court time, they can play in the NNL. And also what we're starting to see is now some of these NNL players are starting to come through to ANZ. my pathway to select is through ANZ. So the more people that we can see, it's actually better for us at the Silver Fern level. There's quite a few in our mix now who have come through from the NNL and made their way through ANZ and now Silver Fern. So the pathway is very clear, and only having one input has definitely at times freaked people out, I suppose, because they're worried about not having that next level underneath that can play. But it's definitely opened the door to give more opportunities to our local players or our homegrown. And I think over the next years at the Silver Fern level, hopefully we will start to reap those rewards, where I think we're starting to see that next layer, as I talked to you about with the Tianas and that, who will be over the next 2 or 3 cycles, who will be world class. So I think, now we've still got a few more years for it to come out, but I can definitely see what that looks like and probably can taste it a wee bit more than we did 3 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fascinating. I think you've really got a strong pathway. It's very clear to see the results of that now coming to fruition. I'm very conscious of time, so we just got one more question before we let you go. The New Zealand-Australia rivalry is pretty legendary, and it's something that the netball family, no matter where in the world you're based, always looks forward to seeing. So when you look at the two directions that the ANZ and the SSN have gone in since the split from the joint competition, some people may argue that the SSN have actually done a bit of a disservice to their national side by not playing the standardised netball because of the inclusions of timeouts, rolling subs, bonus points in previous years, and of course everyone's favourite super shots. So as one half of this iconic rivalry, what are your thoughts on the position that Australia are currently in with their national side?
Yeah, probably 2 things come to mind. One, I think Lisa Alexander echoed your sentiments, and I can't remember, might have been after the Netball World Cup, actually probably in my last year over Lightning, as to areas that she thought the SSN were hindering the international game. And I think what you've already said you probably pinpointed everything that she commented on. I can understand that as well. But it's once again, it's hard to know definitely where things are at for Netball Australia. Personally, for me, I have so much respect for Australia. Never count them out at all. And even though you think you might have one up and they're doing 2-point shots and shooting out of far, then they come under and they kill you. So I think the offset to that is for them is how they're adding maybe a bit of variety to their game. And from a broadcasting perspective, they want to see other people watching their game. So to some degree, I think, netball may be in this sort of different space where how can we get a wider coverage? Where does broadcasting sit? Not only for Australia, but also New Zealand and I think England as well. And how can we appease to the entertainment value, but also hold on tight to the traditional game? We've got Fast 5 as an option, and that's going to start up I think this year with the first 3 years in New Zealand, so that always brings something a wee bit different that the broadcasters seem to love. But when we talk about rivalry with between New Zealand and Australia, it will still remain no matter what, whether they're doing the 2-pointers or we're doing the 5-pointers. Once you get up against them, they don't care. No one cares. We're out there battling each other and trying to win the game. So, yeah, I think once again the game's evolving so much. And each country want to do the best. So as a sport, we're out there as a women's sport, and sometimes what may look like on the outset to be dumb or doesn't make sense to that country, it does. And I think we've got to respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think Australia, New Zealand, that's the first battle for the Quad Series, isn't it? It's your first battle, so.
Oh, jeez. What better way? What better way for my teams to start?
Absolutely. Well, we're so excited to see that battle in action on our quads. Noeline, thank you so much for coming on to speak to us. It's truly been an honour to talk with you, and better luck for the Quad Series, but not too much luck.
That's all right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Qtr Time. We can't wait to bring you even more netball chat in our second episode of this Quad Series mini-series after the finals.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media at Qtr Time Pod for the latest netball updates. Get involved in the conversation online by letting us know what you think of the matches in this series and which players have stood out for you.
We would also really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review, as it helps other people to find the podcast. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, please also let us know, and do spread the word with your netball pals so even more people can get involved. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.